Hey gang, Scott here. Last week I did a video about my golden rule for editing, knowing the story, what you want to emphasize in your photo, and let the processing be guided by that principle. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I'll put a link here so you can go see it. And there were some questions about, during that you said, I want to add a little more detail here, or darken this, or lighten that, and can you tell me more about your process for thinking through that? And I actually go into this in a lot of detail in a video course I did a couple of years ago called Story and Vision. I'll put a link in the notes for the video if you want to check that one out. But I thought I'd walk through this photo here, where this is the finished photo. Not my best photo, but not my worst. But where it started is here. Now, so how did I get from here to here? And I thought I'll walk you through the fundamental changes that were made. Why did I choose to do certain things? So let's just go into it, and we'll just walk step by step through the basics of what happened. So to walk through this, I'll use a series of snapshots as well as walking the various masks that I did. I won't go into the technique for all that. I got loads of videos that talk about how to mask this or how to do that, and you can do that in a variety of different software tools. But what I want to go through here is the thought process. So here's the original, right? And as the camera captures it, 2/3 or 4:3 rather. And really, why did I take the photo? And it's because of these cliff faces, and did my best. There's a limited space to work where I was perched. This is in Zion National Park, but I liked the way that these cliffs were working. They're starting to catch some of the morning light into the valley, and framed it up with some context. And already, even looking at this, I'm thinking, gosh, I wish I'd given myself a little more breathing room in the sky, but I didn't. And this is what I have. And so the very first thing was, this is the important part. This whole cliff face here, I'm going to crop. And so you can see that's where I already punched in. I'm keeping some of these lower, I see things in triangles. There's a triangle here, there's a triangle here. That's creating some dynamic, diagonals, create dynamic feel to the photo. And it's already pushing your eye toward this. Of course, then getting into the basics. We've done no adjustments yet, just a crop. So the basics. All right, there we go. And this is your typical stuff in basic panel. You're choosing a camera profile, white balance. I kept mine as is. I tend to like my photos a little bit cooler. And did the fundamentals with tone, clarity, dehazing quite a bit, really to bring that rock face forward, right? To make it show up. It was very kind of dim in the original capture there. I usually also do a bit of tone curve work. And you'll see maybe a slight change. I'm not sure how much that's going to come through on video. Before, after. You see like that little bit extra bit of haze that's gone out of there. Some very, very slight S-curve action happening there to take care of that. That's about it with the global adjustments. The rest becomes, okay, what's the fundamental principle here? I want you to see those wonderfully red textures and tones in the cliff. How do I push your eye there? So let's get into the masking. We open up the masking area. You'll see I have a whole slew of masks here, and I think I named them after I took the snapshot, but you'll be able to tell what's going on here. So mask 1 and mask 2, let me turn those on and watch the trees in the lower right, and then the ground in the lower left. Just darkening it. What is that doing? A couple of things. First, the fact that it's darkening, I'm not going to look at it as much. I'm drawing attention more toward brighter things. It's also adding a level of depth, right? There's much clearer that these trees are closer and the rock is farther away. And mask number 3, watch the lower left corner of the photo. An extra little tiny bit of darkening there. Just that first one didn't get enough of it, so added things in there. So these 3 changes are pushing your eye upward into the frame, looking at the rocks that I want you to look at, looking at that cliff face there. All right, mask 4, you can kind of get a hint of what's going on here with the shape of the mask. It's the sky treatment. So the sky gets a little cooler, ever so slightly darker, right? A little bit of, let me highlight that mask, a little bit of coolness and a little bit of darkening. These are small, subtle touches. But then again, why is that important? Cooler tones tend to retreat from our eye. I'm adding a little more depth. The sky is not the important part of this photo. It was relatively overcast. There's a little character in that sky, but that's not the point of the photo. Next, this mask here, highlight it, turn it on, and we're going to see the rocks get more saturated, more red. See before and after, right here with saturation, and also punching up clarity a little bit. Whatever tool you're using, you're looking for something that does more localized contrast, bring out detail, dynamic contrast, structure and luminar, whatever your tool of choice is there to get that crispness to come into, in this case, my subject, these jagged cliff faces. Number 6 here, highlight that. Watch the bottom part of the photo. Before, after. Another subtle nudge. This is, I'll call it a lower vignette. It's just this little bowl-shaped darkening at the bottom. A very simple technique to do. I've done videos on this before in vignettes where you can just darken the lower portion of the photo. What does that do? Pushes your eye upward, right? I want you to get to those rocks there, right? I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it throughout the rest of the video. Why? That's my subject. Mask number 7, you'll see some brush work. This is a pretty sloppy mask, but and it looks like I missed a couple of spots there, so I probably need to clean that up afterward. What is that doing? Before, after. You're seeing the haze is cut even more. We'll see that down here with dehaze, and even more clarity and texture. So the most important feature for me in this photo, this center part of these cliffs, that's getting the most detail and the most impact. Our eyes will snap onto things that are sharp, that have detail, and this is a place where your localized adjustments really help, because you can have certain parts have more detail and other parts have less detail, and your viewer is going to pick up on that. Now this last one, mask 8, this is a subtle one. Let me highlight this, turn it on, and hover. You kind of see this interestingly shaped or painted mask. This is a luminosity mask intersected with a color range mask. Basically, any of the light oranges and reds that are out here, that are being picked up here, it's getting this little bit of warmth. And so it's a sunlight kiss, right? Before, after, one more time, before, after. The sun is entering this scene from camera right, and it's hitting the certain faces of the various spots on these cliffs and so forth. And this is just a little accent to bring that forward. Just give it that little extra morning glow. Very subtle touch. I am going to hope that comes through in the compressed YouTube video. And this one, again, I have done videos on this technique where you're taking something like a radial masking bug and combining that with a luminosity mask. So you're targeting just those brighter parts, and you get this very nuanced mask. And by virtue of the radial, you can imagine the center of the radius being the sun, and the sun is casting light in a certain direction. You can taper it off with the feather of the radial and get a very nice, subtle look at that. And so I want to highlight the masks themselves. So before the masks, this was just the basic processing, right? Much better than the out-of-camera raw, but still pretty flat, not really telling a story. And then after, much stronger, right? The combination of darkening things, cooling the sky a little bit, adding more emphasis to the center part of the cliffs with that detail, with that increase in saturation. All that adds up. And so really at this point what happens is this will sit with me for a few days, and I may come back to it and look at it again and see, is there anything else that I need to adjust? As I've been going through it here, now I'm looking at it going, maybe that saturation is a little strong on some of the reds. I might taper that back a little bit before considering the photo done. But this is an example of what I mean when I say, the golden rule, being able to know your subject, know the story of the photo, and then use that to help guide your processing to emphasize what it is you want your viewer to see. Hope you found the video useful. Questions, go ahead and drop them below. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Have fun.